Well, here we are, Michael Farren, in our new studio.
We are so excited to have Michael today.
I'm amazed that there's no Christmas lights on the back of the couch.
Some would say it's too early for Christmas, but we never say that.
She didn't make us wear elf hats or anything.
I know. I mean, I'm kind of wearing a beanie. Does it look like an elf hat?
I know. That's Caitlin's signature.
I know. Everybody that's been to our house in the last 2 weeks has said, "Wow, Christmas already," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Well, July was a little early, but
yeah. Hey, I would if I could. I actually would never take down our tree.
Would. She'll randomly talk in the middle of the summer, and she's like, "Derek, it's only 5 months until Santa." And she'll put on Frank Sinatra.
I love
it's adorable.
it.
I can just tell when she's thinking about it because she'll say, "Hey Alexa, play Frank Sinatra Christmas," as if it is.
It's like as soon as the temperature drops any, I'm like, "Hey Alexa, play Frank Sinatra Christmas."
To be fair, like Frank Sinatra Christmas.
Oh, it's the best.
Anytime
yeah, but when it's your top Spotify, wrapped every year.
It's that
for
and Post
10
Malone
years,
for me.
It gets a little old.
Sinatra, Post Malone, okay.
Hey,
yeah.
That's me.
Girl knows what she likes.
Oh,
she do.
I do. I do, but yeah, we're excited to have you today. We have written a ton of songs with Michael. A lot of songs that you hear of ours we've written with this guy right here, and he's probably one of our favorite people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
One of our favorite co-writers, and just super talented. And we've had the opportunity just to be around you and your wife and hear your story too, and just really inspiring to Derek and I in so many ways, musically and just with life. And I love your wife too, and y'all shared your story. You shared it on stage and just in our writing rooms, and and I just think it's one that's super inspiring, especially with the song that we wrote together, Ain't God Good.
Came out today.
I am so excited. And back at y'all. Y'all are my favorite people. So I'm just glad to sit with y'all. But yeah, today's a big day.
You're my favorite and only big brother.
Oh!
I tell people sometimes I'm the big brother people didn't know they needed or wanted.
Or wanted.
Well, we want you. We love you.
Well, y'all know
we want you. We need you.
We need you.
I'm all in. Y'all know I've hitched all my
your chips.
There's a handful of people in the last few years that I'm throwing all the eggs in that basket. I'm hitching to that wagon.
Oh.
We feel the love, man.
Y'all are that, so
yeah.
Really grateful.
I remember writing this song. It had to be 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Bourbon, cigars. Your wife Elisa and Caitlin were across on the other couch, and I think you just started singing a phrase or something. How do you remember that moment?
I think it started with a guitar thing. We were riffing on a guitar. Because with you anywhere near a guitar, there's going to be a riff going on and something to write on. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember exactly. But I want to say, I think it was just guitar riffing. And
I think the first line y'all started writing was, "I watched my grandpa standing on the edge of a dried out field." You just started into that.
But it was on top of this thing that was going. It was
and y'all were stomping and playing.
Feels like that.
Yeah. Oh man, I loved it.
It just felt special. It was I knew there was something special to that song.
Every song in that week, what was it, 13?
It was 13 in 1 week.
13 songs in a week.
I think we released
didn't we do 4 or 5 in one day or something?
We did 7.
We did 7 in a
We
day?
had 7 in a day, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
There were 7 in a day. But it was always effortless. But this one in particular, God Is Good, was really effortless. And it was deeply meaningful and needful at the time.
Yeah,
we all felt it. The gals were crying, and it was just something special to it, and I think we held on to it for quite a bit, as we do kind of sling songs on the mountain for later retrieval. And long story short, we've talked about this already, but we had a family death on her side of the family, and we played that, and we just felt that holy moment all over again. And
the song had been kind of sitting. I mean, I know we sang it a little bit at the 30-day festival with you, at sunset, and that it felt special then. But then it was just kind of for months just sat in our pocket of just songs we've written, and then at my cousin's funeral it was one of those that we did it and could just tell that people really responded to it after the service. They were asking when it was coming out, and then we started doing it at shows, and that has been really cool because it's we're not singing in church, we're singing at these venues and bars, and people have a beer in hand, the other hand's lifted, and and then they'll come up to us after the show and say, I loved all your songs, but that song ain't got good.
Yeah.
Man,
we'll do a 90-minute set, and that's the one that people mention.
Yeah.
Y'all are, and I'm genuine when I say this, there aren't many people who are really truly uniquely gifted to carry faith into those arenas and those things, and y'all are. And so y'all can do Day Drinking, and 2 songs later do God Is Good, and it makes perfect sense.
And then we end with Beers and Hallelujahs.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
It's all the things.
But it's all real, and it's all.
Yeah, it's not a novelty. It's just.
A lot of people put on faith airs, and y'all are just authentically that. So
that's what I want.
I have no question that song is going to work, because it has y'all. It's deeply, authentically what y'all believe. It's who y'all are. So yeah, I'm grateful it's working, but I'm also not surprised because of who's carrying the song.
Thanks,
another artist with not the faith journey I've had the song wouldn't ring the same. Yeah. And so as a writer, that's my it's always my thing of like, well, I hope I'm writing a song that this artist actually has the authority to carry. Yeah. And y'all have the authority to carry it. So that matters huge. From my side of it.
With that song in particular, I'm still processing that first verse, because I didn't grow up, on a farm necessarily, but was that a nostalgic? It always feels nostalgic whenever I sing, that line about my grandpa, crop of corn that didn't take, and is that from experience or anything?
No, I definitely have been in a lot of situations where I've literally watched people staring out. I was born and raised in North Texas. Yeah. We've always, my family in particular didn't have like big farms, but my great grandfather, Ray Farren, he always had a pretty large garden. Mm-hmm. And I very much so stood there and heard him talk about things drying up. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. My grandpa too,
vivid memories of
yeah.
It's Texas. It's 102, and the water ain't, it ain't falling out of the sky. And so, all of his work shriveling up out there, so.
Gosh.
I think when I heard y'all write that, I was like, it reminded me of my grandpa on my dad's side. My dad grew up like on a farm, and that's how my grandma fed all him and his 4 siblings was through all their gardening.
A hobby.
It wasn't. It's like what they did. That's like how they survived and lived. And so when y'all were singing that line, I really related to it. It was just like, because I've heard my family talk about that too. Yeah. And a lot of them still work out, in the crops, and they have cornfield, corn rows. Yeah. And it's so, I don't know. And too, it's like with, I think you can see it in that like vision, but then you can also like relate it to life, things just not working out, like waiting and something's not happening. And you're just kind of like, all right, I'm sitting here watching it. Like, when's it going to be my turn? Or when am I going to get, my big break? Or when am I going to get this job or whatever? And I think that's
big break, or
why I really loved it.
Sometimes a basic need with that with that crop, whatever that crop is in our life right now. And sometimes it doesn't take, and it's really hard when it doesn't.
The ups and downs.
We have to concentrate on something that is not in our control, and really that does help me release it. And it's a privilege to carry a song with years of in that verse and other things we sing about. But
it's very vivid. It's very vivid in my head for sure.
Well, speaking of like faith and stuff, I know that you came from a background of faith music, Christian music.
To say the least.
What's pretty cool is Pocket Full of Rocks was the band you were in, and I grew up a church kid. And that was one of my favorite bands growing up. Like, I would say that was probably some of the music that really just stood out to me. And even now, listening to it, I really think that, like, it still is so relevant. Like, it's still one of those, like, just albums. I don't remember which album it was, but it was A Beautiful You. Was that one of the songs?
Right. Yeah.
But it's like all those songs still could be released today and be, like, do really well, I feel like.
I hadn't thought about that title in years and years, but I'm very grateful for that season.
I want to hear about your journey in that if you want to talk about it.
Well, I don't mind. But y'all are. Pocket Full of Rocks wasn't like we were really blessed. We were together 16 years, and basically the same guys for the whole. My wife was in that with me, and so I shut it down like after 16 years. And I always laugh and say we were one of the rare bands that got to end on a high note. Like the year that we landed the plane, so to speak, was our best year ever for what you would call platform and influence or whatever else. Everybody was making a living, and the record did great, and radio actually played some of it, and what's the Winston-Salem radio station that you would have heard it on?
WBFJ.
Yeah.
WBFJ.
Listen, I grew up listening to that
cranking
station.
It was hard for Pocket Full of Rocks back then to find radio play because we were too worshipy.
Well,
and
that's
at that
probably
time,
why I really loved it. Was because it was different than
was
everything
hard.
else.
Before things moved towards congregation songs or whatever.
Yeah, we were in that. We were pre everything on Caleb being,
Wow.
worshipy.
Well,
And so
WBFJ played.
yeah,
That's how I heard it.
Was it Wally?
Wally Decker.
Wally Decker.
There you go.
Yes, we still see him out.
There were some
Tag
great
him in
people
this.
over there, but we did it for 16 years. But it really was always just it started as an overflow of what we were doing in a local church. It was never like I was just writing songs for a bunch of college students or high school students in North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The songs were overflow songs. A lot of them were.
Mm-hmm.
We started playing them out, doing more. We were always geared to be a bit more event or conference driven. So it was way worshipy. We were never a good CCM band. We were never cool enough.
Well,
I was
I
never
thought
cool
y'all
enough
were amazing.
to be a great CCM band, but we did love worship
man.
and we loved the church, and it was a good run. I still hear stories. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, market timing or not, we have to redefine impact in a lot of ways, and you impacted our life in that way. And I don't even think I connected the dots until after the first or second time we wrote.
I was like,
funny.
no, babe, that's the band that I felt like
funny.
we would listen
Yeah.
to as well together when we first started dating.
Totally.
And
That's
I don't
funny.
know,
Well,
it's just really cool how that works. And then, years down the road, we meet you and start writing and really click. And it's just funny how there's
Start
dots in
drinking
your-
together. Smoking.
Start drinking,
We've meandered down different paths.
Well, but really, I do want to hear like
You're a Nashville pastor, by the way.
Yeah, we call Michael our stand-in pastor.
Interim.
There are better ones, but you're stuck
Pastor.
with me for now, I guess.
Pastor-elect. Out of 2 votes.
But I mean, so your transition out of that band into like, why did the band kind of stop, or like, and then going into you're now writing for all genres. Like, really, I feel like you're writing a lot in country.
Mainly, yeah. So
You should.
so the band started out of necessity, like in the sense of like we were just a bunch of guys trying to serve a local church. Then we got asked to go down the road and play for another church, and then another church called, and then the conference called, and then blah blah. So it really started, with this kind of very organic. And the way it landed, we were driving from an event. I was asleep in the back seat of a van, and I remembered as clear as day. I woke up out of a dead sleep, and I heard God say, "Good job, you're done."
Wow.
And I sat up in the back seat, and the guys are all up there, and they're all goofing off as band guys do. We're just driving back home on we played out somewhere on a Saturday night and driving back. I think it was in Alabama.
Yeah.
Driving up through Alabama, and I heard God say, "You're done. Good job." And I looked at the guys, and I just sat and thought. I got home and I told Elise, I said, "Hey, I think we're done." And she looked at me, she goes, "I feel that too."
Wow.
And then I had to find a way to set those guys down, because they had worked so hard.
16 years, you said?
Yeah, and they had worked so hard to sustain it and survive in it, because it was really hard at times. And that was a good year. Like, we'd had a really, really good year. And, it was tough for them to go, "What? Seriously, we're done?"
Yeah.
But I knew that it was time to be done. And I've never even said this out loud, I don't think, but I felt responsible for those guys. Like, their families were,
Sure.
that's how they fed their families and stuff. And so I kept it going longer than I should have. Like, I knew we had to put a time limit, like, we'll be done at this time. But and because I didn't obey and do it as quickly as I felt like God told me to, out of a sense of whatever obligation, I kept it going longer. I thought I was helping, but I actually made things worse.
Sure.
Yeah. So the longer I drug it out, the worse it was in relationships with some of my guys.
Yeah.
And it's all great, like, now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, it was, when God says something, he kind of means it sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
It's
It's hard when you think your heart is in the right place, and there's
Yeah.
no shame there either, because I think about a lot of those things internally as I make mistakes and get reminded that I've made a mistake here or there. But like, I don't know. There's no shame in that. And,
Well, I still love all those guys, and some of us talk fairly often, and some I don't. We just pick up where we left off when we do see each other. But they were amazing guys, and 16 years.
That's a lot of hours together.
Oh, it is. And it's rare that David Rollins was the drummer. He plays for Colin Ray now. He's still he's still very much
cool.
Very great, incredible drummer, but he tours full time with Colin Ray and that whole bunch of guys.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Aaron Tippin, that whole he's in that world. He's always out with one of them or something. But Kyle Lee went on. He just won a Grammy for CC Winans.
That's amazing.
And writing, and Jody, the bass player, his wife, they went back to Texas and are doing really great down there doing music stuff.
I just think that shows in life we have so many things that we think should be forever, and not everything is forever, and sometimes there's little things in our path that happen in our journey that we're supposed to do, but it's not, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a couple years, but then it ends, and it's not a bad thing. You just move on to the next chapter of life and kind of see what that holds, and you look back on a good thing, In
the middle of this podcast here, should we note and figure that she just threw out a great song title and idea, and we don't need to forget it?
I was thinking about it, but
I think
I missed the title.
Some things ain't forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we might. This is how.
Right,
this is how we write with Michael all the time, because it literally happens.
Some things ain't forever. Okay. I'll try to get my brain back in this podcast.
No, I love it, but I mean, I don't know.
We can write the first verse real quick.
And today is a lesson on how to write a song on the spot.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I don't know. I just think I don't know. I have so many things racing through my brain, because I look at Derek and I's journey of I did lead worship for a long time, and that was a huge part of my story. And now I'm not really doing that as much. But I've always loved country music. I've loved country since I was, how old? Old enough to have CDs. And it's like it's like God's put in our life people like you and others that have kind of walked the same journey of, doing the worship thing or the CCM thing, and then, the country thing, but being in both. And now you have the Bourbon Gospel Round. We wrote the song, we have a song called Raising Beers and Hallelujahs, and we have our writers round that we started. But it's I really love the tension of both of those worlds colliding, because
you don't have to choose in a general sense.
I just think
obviously you lean more way or the other as far as your foundation, but rather than beers and hallelujahs.
I mean, there's just so many people everyone that we would write with that we met in the CCM world per se, they all loved country music, and those were some of our first writes. I remember Jacob Suter, we wrote House on Fire with him, and he's a country boy, it's and you find out that it's really just all one and the same. There are different genres, but you can sing about Jesus in country, and I think for so long I fought the tension of what does that look like, and I have to choose, but really God's you don't have to choose, you just be you, and do your thing. And so now we're fully walking that out and living that. Our music, I can say, is 100%, from our heart now. But I think it's been the same with your journey, watching it. I think that's why we write so well together and connect as friends, and because you've walked the same things and you've encouraged us in areas that we've walked through, and I don't know, and you're doing both really well, and you love Jesus. You have people come to your room that you write in at Curb, and you basically have Jesus moments all the time. And you've told us about a bunch, but it's I don't know if you want to talk about it, but
call it holy ground. That office is really, it can be ridiculous some days in a good way, just guys in a room, so it can be dumb and ridiculous. And then the very next day it'll turn into something really sacred, and I love it. I love it all. I grew up singing a lot of gospel. My dad's still a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor, but I grew up around country music. North Texas, just country people.
Texarkana.
Eastbound and down.
You introduced us to the first what were those little things we had in Texas?
The empanadas.
No,
kolaches.
Oh, God.
There it is.
So good, kolaches.
Yeah.
That was heavenly, honestly.
So
Jewish pastry with chorizo, essentially.
Basically,
that's the one I had.
Cheese.
Yes, basically you cram taco meat in a donut. It's pretty great.
Oh,
so good.
So good.
But yeah, so obviously proudly Texan, but I grew up with gospel music and country music everywhere. The biggest fight I've had since Pocketful of Rocks, now, golly, we shut that down. I mean, it's 12 years ago now or more. You know, it's been a long time, and the biggest struggle I've had as a writer the last 5 or 6 years is hanging the sign out that said, "Oh, hey, I write 250 songs a year. 220 of them are country."
Yeah.
Because in Nashville especially, they will pigeonhole you pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
So I was, oh, he's a worship guy. Well, yeah, I love Jesus.
If you literally sing about Jesus, people are like, "Now, are you do Christian music or country?" And I'm like, no. Like,
it's not brand confusion. It's the life of
No, I love country.
I have had to work really hard the last 5 years to make people go, oh, no, he actually is a carrier of country things. Yeah. And so, and it's like, some people still scratch their heads and go, oh, you write country music? Like, well, yeah, by a large percentage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not, that's really kind of close to the numbers. Like, 250 songs a year and 220. I reserve space for 20 or 30 songs for artists in gospel world, CCM world, or worship world, whatever it is, artists that I'm still connected with, that I love deeply, and that I believe in. I'm just way more guarded with it now. Yeah. And I don't, and even rare is something in the worship world. Because writing worship stuff, it to me, I just have never been able to write worship if it wasn't specifically needed by a church. Yeah. Like, that's the whole point of worship music, is they God's doing something in a particular congregation, and your job as a writer and a part of that congregation is give them the lyric and melody to say that thing that God's doing, and the songs that I've been a part of through the years that mattered, that really went on to do even bigger things, were birthed there. So I refuse to sit around and just try to write the latest trend topic of a worship song. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do it. And so it's rare. It's really rare.
Guard the purity of it.
Sure. It's like, it doesn't, because it's not going to go anywhere anyway, because God really loves His church and He's really good at protecting it. So that's right. I don't. It's funny. It's like people are still so stunned. We're like, oh, so here you're writing country music now. Always have. I always have. It's not a new thing. I've written country music since I've written country music since I was a teenager. Like, the most impacting album for me in my late teens was the first Garth Brooks record, and I'm just like, Thunder Rolls was like, oh my God, what is this new thing that is country music at this time? And so I started trying to write that stuff, 30 years ago. Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially now, though, like, you have the Christian artists colliding with the country artists, like, even more so, it's becoming like a thing. And I think that's really cool. I think today was the first time we've ever had one of our songs get on a Christian playlist.
Well, that's right. CMAs were this
Country
week.
by the grace of God.
Well, CMAs were this week, and I saw a clip where somebody said "Heaven Church," and
it was Ronnie Dunn.
Ronnie Dunn and Jelly Roll, and they're like marching around "Heaven Church." I'm
everybody's out in the crowd just lifting their hands and sobbing, and I'm like, that. I mean, it literally is like, I don't know. It's just
there's no performing as far as that goes. I mean, obviously you're on national television, but you can tell when someone just sings from
Jelly Roll. I feel like he has. I told Derek that night watching the CMAs, I said, I think he's anointed. Like, he's anointed to do exactly what he's doing. Yeah. To sing about Jesus wherever he is, like, in his story, and it's just incredible. But I don't know. I think it's really cool to, like, be someone who's kind of a bridge in both worlds. Like, because there's only, I love a lot of Christian music, and I've got a lot of friends in Christian music, and I really respect that. But I think that there's so many people that would never step foot in a church. And, I know that. And a lot of times, like, we've had people at our shows say, I don't even go to church. Like, even with Ain't God Good. The guy, Clayton, who interviewed us for American Songwriter, he said, I'm not even a believer, but that song hit me like a hammer. Wow. And, and I told him, I said, that is honestly the biggest compliment I've ever heard about one of our songs. Yeah. And so I think
we all have to figure out how to get out of our personal bubbles, not just the bubble of the church or whatever, but like, and figure out our own freaking like sphere. What are we writing towards that impacts that neighbor over there or whatever? And that could be defined as a producer. It's like, you know, I'm writing this country song. What does a country song sound like? Like I'm already shooting myself in the foot. And there's something to just breathing right now where you are. That is still going to be on brand because we just sing with the twang anyway. So it's like we don't have to worry about.
You can't kill the twang.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that.
I don't know. I just think it's so cool how for so many years, you know, I thought like, you know, what do I gotta choose? And now it's like we're doing what we're doing, and that's okay. And you're doing that really well too. It's like everybody is just living in their sphere and doing what they can. And
I feel like we're all becoming more integrated people and having hobbies and doing other things like
my dad always I love my dad, and he and I are really, really close, but since I was a little kid I remember he's always said, if Jesus is in you, he's coming out.
I love that.
And so it gave me I didn't realize it at the time, but I developed into this thing of like, it gave me a lot of freedom. If Jesus is in you, he's coming out. If Jesus ain't in you, nothing you can do is going to fake it long enough for it, you know, like you can fake it for a little while, but you're gonna get found out. And so it just they used to call it sacred, you know, the walls between sacred and secular, and those walls are, as you all just said, they're quickly disappearing. They won't admit it just yet, but I can name 6 major Christian artists that if they could flip the light switch today, they would start doing country music with faith stuff in it.
Yeah.
And that's really more authentic to who they actually are as people.
Yeah.
But they can't because it's not there yet.
Yeah.
But little by little, that wall between sacred and secular is coming down. And you said bridge builders. It's funny, in the last 6 months, I've told 2 different pretty significant country writers that I've become friends with, and we write a lot. I've told both of them. They have both had crazy Jesus experiences in the last 2 years. Where very different stories, but like the same amount of like, wow, why did Jesus thing? And they've also had numerous number ones in country. Well, they wanted them to, they felt like they were supposed to start writing Christian music, and I'm going,
sure.
Whoa, no, don't do that. Just, as you said, just write where you're at right now, but God didn't give you that favor and platform to abandon it. And so I've told both of them that I believe God's called raising up bridge builders.
I do too.
You're meant to hold hands with both sides and meet in the middle with it all. Y'all are doing that very, very organically as an artist and as writers, because in my opinion, y'all should be writing for everybody else too, beyond yourself, because y'all are real deal writers. But y'all are doing it as artists, and it's just natural. And that's why God is good. It just works because because it's authentic. So.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, well, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
It's not an easy place, I feel like, to be a bridge, but I think, you know, specifically like me.
It's more natural, I would say.
It's another song title.
I'm just spitting out song titles.
I'm like, do you have a crick in your neck? No, it's just an idea.
It ain't easy being a bridge.
It ain't easy being a bridge.
I mean, it isn't. Like, I mean, I honestly...
There's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
There's a lot of strain. A lot of people walk around on you like they know.
Saying the same damn thing.
It ain't easy being
in a bridge. That's how it happens, y'all.
Being walked on.
Keep going, girl.
But
the next album's being titled now by...
The next album is called...
You Might Wish You Were the River.
Yeah.
You might wish you were the river. It's always flowing by. Sure does look so peaceful. Watching all the stuff go by.
Yeah.
You might wish you were the whatevers. Because it ain't easy being a bridge.
I love it. Well, we got 2 new songs.
But that's how people... but think of all the people that you've helped find their way. It made it a little easier to get to a different place.
There it is. Get to the right place.
You were the river that's always flowing by. You wonder where it's wandering off to and wish that you'd done. But you just feel stuck in place. You're just built to be that way. It ain't easy being a bridge. Look of all the lost and on and ain't think cause it ain't easy being a bridge. And then at the end of this song, you did, 'cause it ain't easy. It ain't easy. Love between your heart and mine. Love will really bring. Don't you think it's time? Good Lord.
I love it.
Amazing
I was
thing.
going to say,
Man.
I have one more question for you, and that is, why do you say God is good in your life? Through all the hard times and everything, why is he still good?
Because I have the luxury of looking back from 51 and all the moments where he's felt really close, or the moments where I've literally stood on the hood of my truck and flipped him the bird. He has never been less than good and kind. I've seen too much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't describe him any other way now at this point. He's just good. He's kind and closer than anybody would ever believe. So, seen too much.
Amen, brother.
I love it.
You look really hot for 51.
Hey!
Episode 3, y'all.
So do my
Episode
Trump
3.
dance.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
We went there.
Love
Episode
Love
3.
you, buddy.
Love y'all.
See ya.